So that's what we talk about. Your goal in the end is to get so proper biomechanics that you are actually stretching while you are doing your movement, you're exercising. So what is the problem by static stretching? If we consider the muscle, what you're doing when you're stretching the muscle over a prolonged period of time, is you're just stretching it, making it longer, but not stimulating the muscle. You're only prolonging it. So you are getting more flexible, but you are also getting weaker. At least you're not getting stronger. So if we use this analogy of a band, consider this being your muscle. What you're doing when you're stretching the muscle, doing static stretches for prolonged periods of time, is you're just stretching, and you're really not stimulating it. If I continue this motion for some period of time, somehow it would break. So it could be necessary for you to do static stretching. It could be beneficial for you, but I would say only for those whose mobility is very poor at one area. Also, if we consider these knots, these fascial restrictions that we talked a lot about in week 1, if this is the restrictions that are making your mobility poor, stretching the muscle will not make these restrictions and knots disappear. So once again, consider this being your muscle. If you have these fascial restrictions, these, so to speak, knots on your muscle, stretching the muscle in order to make it more flexible is not going to make the knots disappear. What will make these knots disappear is by applying pressure, for instance, or decompressing the fascia. So you can apply pressure on these by doing your myofascial releases that I showed you in week 1. But stretching a muscle with a lot of these knots is not going to make it more flexible. So you have to find out what are my restrictions, what do I need to work on? Do I need to do static stretches? Do I really have a lot of these knots, a lot of these fascial restrictions that I need to apply pressure on? Or am I at a point in my development where I'm actually able to just do my exercising, do my training, and get flexible thereby? This should be your end goal. This is the most healthy and the most proper way to get flexible, is by moving in broader direction. So you're really just stimulating the muscles while you're stretching them. It's all one big system, one big structure where we have a lot of interconnections. One little change in one part of the body might do a whole collective damage on the rest of the body. Consider this being your pelvis. Really just consider the sticks as being your bones. Consider these bands as being the fascia, being the connective tissues. So these bones in your pelvis are really just floating around in one big system, being held together by the tissues, by the fascia right here. So this is an excellent example of visualize what is going on in your body, why everything is so connected. So if we consider this lateral pelvic tilting, okay? So this is why equality on your body is so important. One little tightness, one little knot on your IT band, for instance, might tilt the whole pelvis and affect everything else. If we consider this anterior pelvic tilt that we have talked about before, pelvis tilting anteriorly, you can see what happens with your connective tissues, with your muscles fiber on the front being shortened. This means that the muscle fibers on the other side, its antagonist, is being prolonged. Posteriorly tilted pelvis is just the opposite. It's really just the hamstrings being shortened and for instance, rectus femoris being prolonged. So it's really amazing to consider the structure, the connectiveness, the system of which our body is operating in. And if we are getting back to these knots, these tensions, these restrictions that might be in some of the myofascial layers in your body, just take one part for instance. This being your fascia, one little knot on this fascia will not just affect one bone, it will affect the whole structure. So this is what's going on in your body. We cannot say anymore that one hamstring restriction is only caused by the hamstring. It can be caused by the rest of the system, and is really, and we have to respect these interconnections, and we have to understand that everything is connected, and a little knot in your hamstring might come from problems in your occipitals, problems in your erector spinae, and so on.